What if the legacy that made her unforgettable was also the one that carried the weight of 1,000 memories? Jennifer Aniston, the golden face of American television, the woman whose smile became a symbol of comfort for an entire generation, built a fortune estimated at over $300 million. dollars. From her Los Angeles estates to her enduring royalties, she stood as one of Hollywood's most cherished success stories. Yet behind the empire she created, behind the laughter she gifted to millions, there lies a quieter truth, one shaped by loneliness, resilience, and the echoes of a past she rarely allowed the world to see. She wasn't just America's beloved friend, she was its mirror, reflecting joy, heartbreak, and the fragile hope that beauty and pain can coexist. And as her legacy grew, so did the questions about what it truly cost her to become the woman everyone knew, but few truly understood. In the glow of her achievements, a shadow followed. Soft, persistent, unforgettable. A legacy that made America smile and, in its deepest corners, made it cry. She entered the world not into privilege, but into a home fractured by silence. Born in 1969 in Sherman Oaks, California, Jennifer Aniston grew up between the fading lights of two struggling artists, watching dreams collide with disappointment long before she understood what fame meant. Her childhood was marked by moving from city to city, a quiet hunger for stability, and the cold reality of a father who walked away when she needed him the most. The echoes of that absence shaped her, carving a determination that would later define her entire life. In the dim corners of small apartments, she learned to observe people, to read emotions, to find warmth where none was given. And in those early years, she discovered something that felt like a doorway out, a school play, a spotlight, a moment when the world finally looked back at her. Acting wasn't an escape, it was a promise whispered to a young girl who refused to be forgotten. Every laugh she shared on stage, every tear she shed in rehearsal, became a quiet rebellion against the instability she grew up with. She told herself one night when the city felt larger than her dreams that she would never let life decide her worth again. From that moment, a spark formed, small, trembling, but unstoppable, the spark that would one day build the empire the world now remembers. Her rise didn't begin with applause, but with rejection. The kind that bruises quietly, the kind that forces a young woman to choose between surrender and survival. Jennifer Aniston spent years working as a waitress, riding buses to auditions that ended with closed doors and polite dismissals. She performed in forgotten sitcoms, held on to temporary roles that flickered and disappeared, yet every setback hardened her resolve. There was something unspoken in her eyes, a spark that refused to dim, a belief that the right story would one day find her. And then, almost as if destiny had been waiting for the exact moment she was ready, it arrived. Friends, a show that seemed small at first, just another ensemble comedy in a crowded television landscape, suddenly turned into a cultural phenomenon. Rachel Green, the runaway bride with the soft voice, the messy heart, the longing for reinvention, became the face of a generation. Jennifer didn't just play the role, she breathed life into it. Her timing, her vulnerability, her quiet strength transformed her into America's sweetheart overnight. With every season, she wasn't simply acting, she was stitching herself into the emotional fabric of millions. Success followed with a dazzling force. Emmy Awards, Golden Globes, international fame, but also the financial empire that came with it. Her salary soared to $1 million dollars per episode in the final seasons, a number that stunned even Hollywood. Movie roles brought her into new arenas, from romantic comedies to dramatic turns that revealed depths often overlooked. She built a real estate portfolio that stretched from Bel Air to Beverly Hills, crafted business ventures in beauty and wellness, and secured lifelong royalties that would cement her fortune for decades. Yet behind every victory, there was a flicker of solitude, a reminder that the brighter the spotlight became, the darker the space behind it felt. She carried herself with grace, but fame grew heavy, pressing against her private wounds. She worked tirelessly, not to prove her talent, but to build something no one could take away, something that would outlast every heartbreak she ever endured. The empire she created wasn't born of vanity, It was built from the ashes of childhood uncertainty, from a promise she made to herself long before the world knew her name. And as the applause grew louder, a different silence began to rise beneath it, the kind that asks whether triumph can truly fill the quiet spaces of a lonely heart. He had everything, yet lost what mattered most. For Jennifer Aniston, the world saw glamour, laughter, and the effortless charm of a woman who seemed untouched by sorrow. But behind the polished interviews and red carpet elegance was a private life marked by fractures no amount of fame could mend. Her relationships became the subject of headlines, each breakup exaggerated into a national spectacle, each silence interpreted as defeat. The pressure to appear unbreakable weighed on her like a second skin, and even in the brightest rooms, she often felt alone. Her marriage to Brad Pitt, once celebrated as Hollywood's golden union, unraveled under the heat of relentless scrutiny. The world watched, speculated, judged, forgetting that behind the tabloids was a woman quietly grieving the collapse of a dream she once believed in. Years later, her second marriage dissolved in the same quiet way. Two people drifting apart, two hearts unable to find the same rhythm. And despite her strength, the whispers about family, motherhood, and expectations cut deeper than she ever admitted. She carried those wounds without bitterness, but the ache lingered, soft and persistent. In the stillness of her home, after the cameras disappeared and the lights dimmed, she often confronted the silence she thought she had left behind in childhood. It returned in new forms: empty rooms, fading conversations, the soft glow of a lamp left on for company. Even as her career soared, her nights grew quieter, and the questions she never said aloud began to shadow her steps. Was success worth the pieces of herself she had to give away? Illness within her family added another layer of sorrow. Watching her mother face declining health, navigating years of emotional distance, and reconciling old wounds, all while maintaining the image of the confident, smiling icon America adored, became a burden she carried privately. Fame gave her security, but it couldn't buy back lost time or heal the fractures of a complicated past. Her empire stood tall: homes, awards, investments, iconic roles. But none of them could shield her from the storms within. Jennifer learned, slowly and painfully, that glory often asks for a price that cannot be paid with money. And as she walked through the quiet corridors of her life, she understood that even the brightest legacy casts a long shadow. In time, the storm softened, and what remained was the quiet truth of who Jennifer Aniston had become. Not the headlines, not the heartbreaks, but the woman who transformed her pain into something luminous. Her financial legacy alone stands as one of the strongest in Hollywood. More than $300 million in accumulated wealth, anchored by timeless royalties from friends, a real estate empire she built stone by stone, and business ventures that turned her name into a symbol of elegance and resilience. Yet beyond the numbers, there is a deeper inheritance she leaves behind, one crafted through endurance, kindness, and the courage to remain vulnerable in a world that demands perfection. She never chased immortality. She built it quietly, through performances that carried the soft ache of lived experience. To millions of women who felt overlooked, she became proof that reinvention is possible at any age. To young actors who arrived in Hollywood with trembling hope, she offered a blueprint of dignity: work hard, stay human, protect your heart. And to those who struggled with loneliness, she showed that even the brightest stars have shadows, and that these shadows do not diminish the light. Her philanthropic work, from cancer research to children's welfare, added layers of meaning to her success. She donated not for applause, but for the simple belief that the world should be a little softer than the one she grew up in. Her friendships, steadfast and loyal, became part of her legacy too. Reminders that family can be chosen, rebuilt, and cherished. What she leaves behind isn't just wealth, it's a map for anyone who has ever felt lost. A map drawn from heartbreak, triumph, and the quiet bravery of beginning again. And for those who grew up with her smile on their screens, her legacy is a memory, warm, familiar, and forever tied to moments when life felt a little easier because she was there. In the end, her story returns to where it began. A young girl searching for a place where silence couldn't swallow her dreams. Jennifer Aniston rose from that silence, shaped it, softened it, and turned it into a legacy that still glows long after the credits fade. The fortune she built, the roles that defined eras, the quiet acts of compassion she never announced, all of it forms a tapestry that time cannot undo. She didn't ask the world to remember her. She simply lived with enough truth that forgetting became impossible. And now when people look back on her life, they don't see only the fame or the wealth. They see the warmth she carried, the dignity she protected, the light she managed to keep alive through every storm. Her legacy moves like a soft echo, steady, familiar, comforting, the kind that lingers long after the room has gone still. From silence, she rose, and in silence, she leaves behind a memory that will never fade, a reminder that even the most fragile hearts can build something eternal.